like to call the governing board meeting July 6th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. to order. Should let the records reflect Kathy McNamara, Yolanda Lopez-Berridan, Suzanne McAvoy, Jamie Miller, myself, Mark Aguirre, all present. Yolanda, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty for all.
So there's a little bit of a lag, so I apologize to everyone online. It is recommended the governing board approve the regular agenda form and consent agenda consistent with board policy BEDB and temporarily suspend governing board policy with which this agenda may be inconsistent. If I could, Suzanne, can I have a motion?
Sorry. I motion that the governing board approves the regular agenda form and consent agenda consistent with board policy BEDB and temporarily suspend the governing board policy with which this agenda may be inconsistent.
And a second?
Second.
And a second? Those in favor? All those in favor? Jamie? Aye. 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 Yolanda? Yolanda?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Suzanne?
Aye.
Show that it approved unanimously. Item 2, general business, discussion and consideration to approve the possible revision of the 2020-2021 school year calendar in compliance with Governor Ducey's executive order. Dr. Schuff.
Try it again. On June 29th, Governor Ducey issued an executive order indicating that schools could not be in person until August 17th. However, they could begin through distance learning. With that information, administration prepared 3 optional calendars for board consideration this afternoon. 2 of those indicate August 17th with very similar layout of the calendar as to what we currently have today, with just extended by a week is the one that ends later in May. And then the one that ends at the same time as May 21st, that takes out some additional breaks throughout the year. And then the third option is one that maintains the current year calendar starting on August 5th and then still ending on May 21st, the calendar that parents have been planning around already. For that May 5th, that would require that we start with distance learning as well as our online option, and then in person would shift to in person for those parents who chose that for their children as of August 17th or whatever date that the governor may choose to extend that to. So I won't go into much of a presentation other than to share with you some data collected from both our staff and our parents. Our staff reviewed the options, and 60% of our staff are interested in us starting on August 5th at our regular start date. all distance or online. 32% of our staff were interested in the option that would start on the 17th and then end on the 28th. Our parents, however, had a different perspective, and 42% of them were interested in an August 5th start date, and 58% were August 17th. Well, I think that the reason that our staff may have been more interested in an August 5th start date is they had a little bit additional information that our parents did not have, and that is the impact to our staff regarding salary, regarding benefits. It does present a hardship for particularly our support staff that are 9 and 10-month employees, and those employees who actually make a lesser amount of salary. Staff interest in beginning on August 5th as planned really has a lot to do with the governor's language around the executive order, indicating that this was aspirational in some ways, that they will continue to reevaluate those timelines. And that's a concern that the longer that we go to start school, that presents more and more of a learning gap for our children. So if we could at least get started and give our kids access to learning sooner, we think that would be a benefit. We do share some concerns with parents around the start of online, particularly for kindergarten and first grade students. We know that is a difficult situation. We are just hopeful that it would only be for 8 days until the 17th, when, again, we are aspirationally able to start school if all goes well and the community continues to see a decline in COVID. So those are just the general overviews from both parents and staff, and really I just wanted to open it up to conversation with the board, and we can answer any of your questions.
We'll switch it up. Thoughts, Jamie?
Get the microphone, it keeps running away from me. There we go. There we go. I worry that if we delay it, the governor is going to continue to delaying the start date. And so my thoughts are, we just need to start. We need to get going for the employees, for their benefits and their pay. But also, you know, if we delay the start date and the governor delays it again, are we going to continue to chase that start date? And I just think that we should start.
Suzanne, what are your thoughts?
I'm also in the same line of thinking as Jamie. I don't like the August 5th date of the thought of everybody starting online, especially those first graders in kindergarten. And I can definitely empathize with parents as a parent who's going to have a kindergartner. But I just don't really feel like we have much choice, because I do feel like the date could get pushed back, especially with the language that the governor's using, and that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he gave the Department of Education till August 28th to give their recommendations on what could possibly need to be done, possibly other waivers for things like instructional days and time. And I'm just wondering, that day that he gave them, it makes me wonder if we're going to get pushed back another 2 weeks. And I sort of feel like we need to deal with the inevitable, that it definitely could happen, and we need to start school. I mean, if we're about student, that learning gap, I don't want it to get bigger. So about student achievement, then maybe we do need to start on the 5th. And, you know, looking at our staff, I worry about not being able to retain our support staff. If we cannot pay them, that they will go somewhere else that is starting on their original start date, and also superintendent of schools for public education of Arizona. I mean, she also recommended that schools start on their original start date through distance learning. So it concerns me when someone like that suggests it, possibly knowing, is it going to get switched further, because we're not seeing a decline yet.
Yolanda?
Yeah, I think we should start August 5th also on the distance of learning, because same thing. One is our staff who already has prepared to pretty much start that date. And then I'm also worried that if we don't, that they might find something, especially the support staff. And I'm also afraid that even on the 17th, there's no assurance that the governor will say yes on that, and that they will push even farther back. So I think we should just start on August 5th.
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts, unfortunately, that have been haunting me, because part of it, and there's a lot of articles currently being written about the financial impact to parents trying to manage distance learning, work from home, or being an essential worker and having their kids trying to learn, and that they're having to make some really hard financial decisions on how they get that done. So there's that aspect of it. The American Association of Pediatricians strongly encourages opening school back up in person as soon as we possibly can. I'm just going to read an excerpt from their article, and I was going to share it with all, but that whole open meeting law, I sent it to Dr. Sheff, and I'm sure she can forward it if you're interested. The AAP strongly advocates that all policy considerations for the coming school year should start with the goal of having students physically present in school. The importance of in-person learning is well documented, and there is already evidence of the negative impacts on children because school closures in spring of 2020. Lengthy time away from school and associated interruption of supported services often results in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits, as well as children and adolescents' physical or sexual abuse, substance use, depression, and suicidal identification. This in turn places children and adolescents considerably risk for morbidity and, in some cases, mortality. Because the educational impact and social impact of school closures, there has been substantial impact on food security and physical activity for children and families. And I think we're all very kind of in tune to that. And so I believe August 5th is right for us, for both, option 3. I'm concerned, obviously, because it doesn't take care of the food security and how do you manage the food program with them learning, distance learning. The other thing in reading, even from educators are saying, remember those first few weeks is getting into a routine. You're not going to do a lot of in-depth learning, but we have some learning gaps from last year, and it's getting creative. Can we videotape the children's room and have the teacher take them on a tour of their room and getting them comfortable with the room? Building that relationship for those kiddos that are going to come in person. How creative can we get? Because those first few weeks are really about relearning, reteaching, and routines and relationship building. And some of that can be done, although Miss Social here likes to still be in person. My company's had to get creative with how we still get social and stay in tune with each other to make sure we are checking on each other. And so I think moving forward, it's not going to be a great plan, especially for those parents that are already struggling with that work-life balance, that are having to work from home and now making sure her 13-year-old is out of bed and online while she's trying to manage a conference call. I've done the online thing, and it particularly does not work for my child, but for a short period of time, that could turn out to be a longer period of time, we can make it work. I've had parents tell me, I will bathe my child in sanitizer. I will wrap them in bubble wrap. Let me send them to school. I will say to teachers, you worked really hard to be recognized as essential to our society. Last year before last, I'm sorry, all these years have run together. And parents have felt that now. They know how essential you are. And so it's not to get rid of their kids. It's not for babysitting. It's they don't have the skill set. Not everybody, but some of us, I will be the first one, does not have the skill set to help their child be as successful. I'm happy to partner with a teacher, but I don't have that skill set, and I recognize that. So be proud of that. Society has recognized you as an essential employee as we move forward. And so I'm ready to support option 3. It's a decent option out of a bad situation.
I think everyone's already said what I was going to say. We kind of don't necessarily have all the information from the State Department that maybe we should, to be able to look ahead to see what's really going on. I think with school opening and them shutting things down the way that they did, what I'm hoping is that with the county implementing the mask, that we're going to start to see our numbers come down. I was watching on the news that City of Phoenix, they have a 28.3% positivity rate on this. So if the mask and the social distancing aren't adhered to, unfortunately, it's going to affect the masses, and I feel that it's going to be another distance learning year. That's just that's the reality of it. It's not a political thing. It's not a divisive thing. That's the reality. That's where we stand. So, with that being said, I do support option 3. And did anyone else have anything else to say?
I would just add one more comment. So I want our parents to know that we will, as a district, we will be able to deploy more devices. We will not be able to do a 1-for-1 for every single child, but our goal is that for any family that doesn't have a dedicated device for their child, so we're hoping that some families do have a device in the home that their child will be able to use, that they aren't having to share with a sibling or a parent, that they would use those, and that we would deploy devices for the rest of those. Our families have also let us know if they have serious concerns about their internet stability and their ability to access that. So families have shared that information with us, and we are working on some alternative options for those families. We do have some concerns for the Deep Rainbow families where a hotspot isn't available. We feel like we can open up a school cafeteria in Rainbow Valley if families needed to come in to access to use the internet. For those few families that may be an impact for. So we're going to think outside of the box for these 8 days to make sure that we can serve all children.
I have a question. Will we be able to serve meals or at least have a grab and go at every school site?
So the rules change as soon as we officially start our calendar year. But we will continue to maintain our meal service up until the school starts, and then we just have to play by different rules. But yes, there will still be meals available. We just have to do it differently.
Suzanne? With that, should make motion.
Option number 3.
Option number 3.
I make a motion for the governing board to adopt option number 3 for the calendar school year for 2020-21 with the start date of August 5th. That
All those in favor?
Excuse me, can you just add, just so that we don't have to come back for another board meeting, the last part, or online learning options until the date the state authorizes in-person school?
Okay, sorry, okay. I motion that that the governing board approves the starting date of August 5th with option 3 calendar for the 2020-2021 school year and begin school limited to distance or online learning options until the date that the state authorized in-person school.
All those in favor?
Give me a second.
Sorry, a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Jamie?
Aye.
Yolanda?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Suzanne?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Show that it approved unanimously.
Mr. Guar, I'd like to make a statement about my vote.
Go ahead.
So in the past few weeks, there's been a lot of fear that have been expressed throughout the different media outlets. And I'm talking our media outlets, Facebook mainly. COVID-19 is no joke. And I think all of us here know that. But fear cannot cripple us. The members, and I don't speak for the board, but I'm speaking on my observation of the board, care about our employees, as does the administration. Children will feel the fear and panic if we show them that. And this is not the normal school year. In order to get them back in and back into a routine is why I selected option 3. We need to set the stage that our essential workers are important, and starting on time has a positive impact to their financial health. I have the highest confidence in Dr. Schuff and her leadership and her staff that they will take care of our employees. When we do return to in-person, we cannot eliminate risk, but we can mitigate it. And I trust that she is doing everything to oversee that. There's also been a second observation. There's been a great amount of parent shaming because we have different opinions of how school should start. As fractured as our country seems, it's still the best country in the world because you're allowed to have a choice and a different opinion than your neighbor. I would ask everybody, respect everybody's decision on this board and the administration and every parent, and show our kids how we can disagree but still move forward. We have no tolerance for bullying or parent shaming, and that is why I'm asking you support us as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Guar.
Item 2, discussion and consideration of possible approval of resuming in-person or online governing board meetings. There was concern. I know we just got done on this at the last meeting. And like everything else, it seems like lately it's a new day, new week. So I'd like to hear everyone's opinions on this now, knowing the things that we know now. And I'll just start that I was the one that thought we should be back in person if we're starting school. Obviously that's changed. So my opinion is that we go back to online. There's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of uncertainty with the majority of the district being online and us just ruling that we're gonna go to online, that I feel, in my opinion, that we should go to online until in-school starts. I don't know that we necessarily need to meet in person. I think that we were getting the hang of it at this point. I wanted to show the public that we're here, we're adhering to the guidelines, and to be honest, it just seems like it's getting worse. And I just don't know that it's a wise decision to meet in person, in my opinion. With that, Amy?
I'm okay with either one still. To me, this is a good slow transition back to normal. But again, I'm fine with either one. Whatever everybody else is comfortable with.
I'm fine, because if we do in person, we would have to do it this way, meaning nobody's pretty much here other than us, and we're very separated. I'm stuck. I have to come to the district because my Wi-Fi and internet is very crappy. So I have to come here anyway. So even if we're online, so I'm fine being online, just because I feel more comfortable. But if we would do it in person, like I said, we would have to stick it this way, which I don't know how good that would be. Up to you guys. Like I said, I still have to come to district either way.
So, two schools of thought, obviously. If we have it in person, we're not adhering to the seriousness of COVID-19. If we're asking people to come in person and we're not meeting in person, then we're not, putting our money where our mouth is and not leading by example. So I was with you the last meeting. I personally am fine meeting in person. I feel if educators are essential employees, that makes me essential to make sure that they get what they need. I am fine either way. I have no heartburn meeting online other than when my family doesn't respect my area and I get moved 4 times in a single meeting. But I really think that our leaders are wanting us to stay home because that's the safest place for us. We're adults, we can make that decision. I will say, and even if it's time to return, I have no problem with any of you all, for whatever reason, needing to stay home. And it seems like we've proven we've been able to do it. And if you're just feeling under the weather and not have a migraine and don't want to drive, I think this could be our new normal. That part of us are here and part of us are at home based on that need. And I think moving forward, our school district needs to learn how to be agile and with a moment's notice change. So all that to say is I'm flexible.
Suzanne?
I would support starting meetings in person again once school starts. I understand the logic. If the teachers are coming in and they're essential workers, then it's time for us to come together as leaders. But if you all decide to keep meeting in person too, that's fine.
Okay, Kathy, can you make a motion to approve online governing board meetings until in school
Happy to, Mr. Aguirre. I will make the motion to approve resuming online governing board meetings until such time we have in-person instruction.
A second?
Second? Aye.
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 Suzanne?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Show that approve unanimously. Item number 3, upcoming governing board dates. We still got the July 13th regular board meeting, July 18th board retreat, July 27th regular board meeting. I'll just kind of say it out loud. I'm sure Dr. Schuff and I are going to have a discussion about the July 18th board retreat, given the way things are right now. So she'll probably put something in the governing board update with what her and I come up with. But with that, we get a motion to adjourn the meeting. Jamie?
Make a motion to adjourn tonight's board meeting?
Second.
Aye.
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 Suzanne?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Show that it approved unanimously. Show that the meeting adjourned at 5 p.m. Thank you, everyone.